Damn it, fire up the engines. We've got a planet to save, or are you lot just going to stand there gawking like a bunch of slack-jawed yokels? His first officer, a grizzled veteran with scars crisscrossing his weathered face, snapped to attention, his voice gravelly with urgency. Engines at full thrust, Captain. But the Gorath ain't just some petty space scum we can swat away. It's devouring planets like it's at a bloody feast. In the void between stars, where silence reigns supreme, the Galactic Council summit station buzzed with a dire urgency. The clamor of the summit echoed the chaos, threatening the galaxy, a chaos born from the shadow of Gorath, a cosmic leviathan that devoured planets with chilling indifference. Amid this turmoil stood Alia Wren, a delegate from Vertek, her features marked by the grace of her people and the desperation of her plea. Alia adjusted the communicator pinned to her azure tunic. The holographic interface flickered to life, projecting the imposing figure of Captain James Corbin across from her. Corbin, commander of the human armada, bore the scars of countless conflicts, his gaze sharp and unyielding. Captain Corbin, Alia started, her voice steady despite the swell of dread. Vertek is dying. Gorath's approach was swift and merciless. Our defenses, like those of many before us, were nothing to it. We need your strength. Corbin's expression didn't waver, his stance embodying the relentless resolve of humanity. Miss Wren, every sob story from here to the galactic rim begs the same, a plea for the fearsome humans to bail them out. Why should we care about Vertek? Our cultural heritage offers more than just strategic value, Alia replied, her eyes burning with a fierce resolve. We have knowledge, ancient and valuable. Help us, and it's yours. Besides, Gorath won't stop with Vertek. Where will it head next? Perhaps a human outpost? A smirk tugged at the corner of Corbin's lips, the hint of amusement in his otherwise stoic face. Point taken, diplomat. But we're not your personal guard dogs. What's in it for the fleet? Safe passage through Vertetian space and access to our fuel depots. And, of course, our eternal gratitude, Alia countered, her gaze unwavering. Corbin chuckled a dry, abrasive sound, more a dismissal of formalities than any real humor. Gratitude won't fuel my ships, but your depots might. All right, we're in. But when this is over, we'll hold you to your promises. Understood. Alia nodded, a weight lifting slightly from her shoulders. Good. I'm mobilizing the fleet. We'll be at Vertek within the standard cycle. Prepare your people for our arrival. We're not exactly a subtle bunch, Corbin stated, his voice gruff as he cut the transmission. As the hologram faded, Alia's communicator buzzed with incoming messages from her council, likely reiterations of caution and political advisories. She silenced the device, her mind set. There was no turning back now. On board the human flagship, the USS Retribution, activity surged like a roused beast. Crew members hastened to their stations, the air thick with anticipation and the metallic tang of readiness. Corbin strode through the corridors, his presence commanding and immediate, every step purposeful. Report, Commander Nash, Corbin demanded as he entered the strategy room, where a holographic map of the galaxy pulsed with myriad threats and flickering alliances. We're set to jump to Vertek's coordinates within the hour. The fleet's weapon systems are primed. All decks report ready for combat, Nash reported, his voice a reflection of the discipline that ran tight through the human armada. Corbin nodded, his eyes fixed on the swirling representation of Gorath on the map. It was a mass of shadows and terror, a blight moving inexorably through the cosmos. Load the Dark Nova protocols. This beast has had its run of the galaxy long enough. It's time to show it what happens when it messes with humanity, Corbin declared, the edge in his tone sharp enough to cleave steel. Yes, sir. But, sir, the Dark Nova? It's drastic, Nash hesitated, a flicker of concern crossing his otherwise stoic demeanor. Corbin's gaze was steely as he turned to face Nash. Drastic times, Commander. Gorath is no ordinary foe. We'll use every tool in our arsenal, every ounce of human ingenuity and ruthlessness. We didn't come this far to play it safe. The journey to Vertek cut through the cold, dark expanse of space, a silent voyage punctuated only by the low hum of the USS Retribution's engines and the occasional clank of maintenance on the outer hull. Inside the command center, Captain James Corbin stood like a sentinel over his crew, watching the star map with an eagle's focus. Navigation status? Corbin's voice sliced through the ambient noise, crisp and demanding. Approaching Vertek's orbit, Captain. TA in less than 2 hours, replied Lieutenant Graves, her hands flying over the holographic controls with practiced ease. Good. Tactical. Initiate pre-battle diagnostics. I want every system firing on all cylinders, Corbin commanded, turning to face the main view screen. Yes, sir. Diagnostics in progress. All systems operational within 97% efficiency or higher, reported Commander Nash, his gaze never leaving the readouts. Corbin nodded, his mind already racing ahead to the confrontation with Gorath. His next order was directed at the communications officer. Patch me through to the entire fleet. It's time they heard from their captain. The crew tensed, anticipation hanging in the air like a charged particle ready to ignite. Corbin's image was broadcasted across every ship in the fleet, his figure imposing even in holographic form. Crew of the human armada, this is Captain Corbin. Ahead of us lies not just another enemy, but a devourer of worlds, a darkness unlike any we've faced. But remember, we are humanity's might, its sword and shield. We carry not just the hope of Vertek, but the will of the entire human race. We will show this Gorath that it has finally bitten off more than it can chew. Prepare for battle. Cheers echoed through the fleet, a roaring tide of courage and resolve buoyed by Corbin's words. The captain cut the transmission, his expression stone cold once more as he turned to face the tactical team. Activate the Dark Nova protocols, he ordered. The room fell silent, the weight of the command settling over the crew like a shroud. Sir, Dark Nova is still considered experimental. It's unpredictable. Nash hesitated, the worry clear in his voice. I know what it is, Commander. And I know it's our best shot at taking down Gorath. Load it up, Corbin retorted, his voice brooking no argument. Nash nodded, resigned, and turned to execute the order. Meanwhile, Alea Wren entered the command center, her presence almost ghost-like against the backdrop of busy, uniformed humans. Captain, the people of Vertek are prepared as much as they can be, she said, her voice a calm contrast to the storm of activity around her. Corbin gave her a brief nod, acknowledging her update without shifting his focus from the mission at hand. Miss Wren, after this is over, we'll need to discuss exactly how your people will fulfill their promises. Of course, Captain. And thank you for coming to our aid, Alia replied, her eyes scanning the room, taking in the intensity of the preparations. No thanks needed yet. Let's see how this plays out, Corbin responded, his attention snapping back to the front as the ship began to shudder slightly, entering the outer edges of Vertek's gravitational field. The fleet aligned in formation, the larger ships at the front with the Retribution at the helm. Each vessel was a spear point in humanity's fist, bristling with weapons and shielded by the latest defensive technology. As Vertek came into view, its blue-green surface marred by the dark swathes of destruction left by Gorath, the reality of the battle they were about to engage and settled in. Corbin's jaw tightened, his resolve hardening. Engage all forward shields. Prepare all hands for combat. This is it, he announced, his voice echoing through the command center. Outside, the blackness of space began to distort, a sign of Gorath's approach. The entity was a swirling mass of darkness and debris, its size almost incomprehensible as it loomed over Vertek. Fire up the Dark Nova. Target Gorath's core. All units, this is a full strike command. Corbin barked out the orders as Gorath's form became clearly visible, a titan among the stars, a nightmare made real. The dark void of space near Vertek was now a stage set for a battle of epic proportions. Captain James Corbin's voice filled the bridge of the USS Retribution, crisp and commanding. All units, this is it. Engage, Dark Nova. Hit that abomination with everything we've got. In the depths of space, the human armada positioned itself strategically against the backdrop of the swirling Gorath, an entity whose sheer size dwarfed even the largest of their vessels. The fleet's formation was a testament to human ingenuity and tactical prowess, shaped by Corbin's decades of experience. "Dark Nova is primed and ready, Captain," reported Commander Nash, his voice steady despite the underlying tension that gripped him. "On my mark. Fire," Corbin ordered. The front line of human ships unleashed the Dark Nova, a dazzling array of synchronized energy pulses that lit up the darkness like a new constellation. The pulses were designed not just to damage, but to disorient, a barrage of high-frequency emissions aimed directly at Gorath's core. The cosmic giant roared in response, a soundless fury that shook the space around it as it absorbed the initial impact. "It's not enough. It's regenerating," shouted Lieutenant Greaves, monitoring the feedback from the energy pulses. "Damn it! Load up Phase 2. I want kinetic barrages now. Target any weak spots that lit up. Break through that shell." Corbin's orders came fast, his resolve as hard as the hull of his ship. As the human fleet adjusted, the artillery ships took their cue, launching a series of kinetic projectiles enhanced with nuclear tips, humanity's answer to the indestructible. The projectiles streaked across space, piercing the darkness, each impact a bright flash against Gorath's dark mass. Direct hits on the following coordinates. "We're seeing some disruption in its energy pattern," Nash reported, his eyes scanning the real-time data streaming onto his screen. Aaliyah Wren watched from the sidelines, her heart a tumult of hope and fear. The humans, with their terrifying destructive grace, were a force like no other. She whispered to Corbin, standing firm amidst his crew. "Is it enough? Can we really stop it?" Corbin didn't take his eyes off the view screen. "We're humans, Miss Wren. We don't know how to back down. Not when it counts. Nash, prepare for another round. If we're going down fighting." "Yes, Captain." Preparing for another assault, Nash affirmed, his fingers dancing over the controls with practiced ease. The second wave intensified, the human ships weaving through the debris in energy blasts like dancers in a deadly ballet. Each move was calculated, each strike precise. Gorath, for all its might, began to show signs of faltering, its movements less coordinated, its energy dissipating into space. "Look at that, it's weakening. Keep the pressure up. All units, maintain barrage patterns. Push it back." Corbin's voice rallied his fleet, his presence a galvanizing force that drove his people to their limits. Under the relentless assault, Gorath's core finally began to expose itself, the protective layers around it crumbling under the unyielding human offensive. "There, the core's visible. All units, focus fire on that spot. Let's finish this," shouted Corbin, pointing at the holographic image displaying Gorath's vulnerability. The final barrage was a masterpiece of military execution. The human fleet, synchronized and unstoppable, delivered a concentrated blast to the core, the culmination of human defiance and technological prowess. With a final, massive explosion, Gorath's form shattered, the energy holding it together dissipating as it imploded. The shockwave that followed was monumental, rippling through space, but the human ships were ready, their shields holding firm against the blast. Silence fell over the bridge as the crew stared at the view screen, where the once fearsome Gorath was now just a cloud of dissipating energy. Corbin let out a breath he hadn't realized he'd been holding, his face a mask of weary triumph. "We did it," he said quietly, almost to himself. As the dust of the cosmic battlefield settled, the USS Retribution and the rest of the human fleet orbited the once beleaguered planet of Vertek, their hulls scarred but defiant, a testament to the battle they had just endured. The void where Gorath once threatened was now just empty space. Captain James Corbin stood at the observation deck, overlooking Vertek, its vibrant blues and greens stark against the blackness of space. His features bore the fatigue of the ordeal, yet his eyes reflected a steely resolve that had not dimmed. "We should start coordinating the relief efforts," Corbin said, turning to Alia Wren, who had been instrumental in guiding the diplomatic ties between humanity and her people during the crisis. "Your planet's going to need all the help it can get." Alia nodded, her expression mirroring Corbin's determination. "Yes, and you have our deepest thanks, Captain. Vertek will not forget what humanity has done for us today. We are forever in your debt." Corbin grunted, a sound more of discomfort than acknowledgement. "We did what we had to, Alia. No debt between us. Just make sure the Galactic Council gets our message loud and clear. Humanity isn't the enemy. Not unless they make us one." Back on the bridge, Corbin issued orders with a clipped efficiency that left no room for doubt. "Commander Nash, begin scans for any residual threats. Lieutenant Greaves, coordinate with Vertetian authorities for disaster relief and recovery operations." "Yes, sir," they responded in unison, springing into action. The crew, though exhausted, moved with a purpose, energized by their victory and the tasks ahead. As preparations for aid deployment were underway, Alia approached Corbin with a datapad in hand. "Captain, I've drafted a treaty proposal as per our agreement. It outlines the terms of support, resource sharing, and mutual defense. I hope it serves as a foundation for a long-standing alliance." Corbin took the datapad, scanning the document with a critical eye. "Looks thorough, Alia. I'll have my advisors review it, but I don't foresee any issues. Humanity could use more friends in this galaxy." The dialogue shifted as they discussed the logistics of the reconstruction efforts. "We'll need to set up temporary shelters, medical stations, and supply depots," Alia detailed, her tone pragmatic yet infused with an undercurrent of optimism. "Your engineers and medics will be invaluable." "And you'll have them for as long as you need," Corbin assured her, his tone firm. "But let's also talk about your defenses. What happened here can't happen again. We'll help you rebuild, but we'll also help you fortify." The reconstruction of Vertek was a monumental task, but with human support, progress was rapid. The synergy between Vertetian resilience and human ingenuity forged not just buildings and infrastructures, but also bonds of respect and cooperation that transcended past prejudices. Weeks turned into months, and as Vertek slowly regained its vibrancy, the Galactic Council convened a special session to address the implications of the recent events. Corbin, invited to speak, stood before the assembly, his presence commanding attention. "Ladies and gentlemen of the Council, what happened at Vertek wasn't just a victory for one planet or one people. It was a demonstration of what we can achieve when we stand together. Humanity didn't seek this fight, but we didn't shy from it either. Let this be a turning point, not just for Vertek, but for all of us in how we respond to threats and how we view each other." His speech was met with applause, some enthusiastic, others reserved, but the message was clear. Humanity was a formidable ally and a potential leader in galactic affairs.